CES 2024. We are here live on the CES floor. My name is Robyn Freye. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Stagwell, and we are joined today by Stephanie Freed, who is the CMO of Fandom.
Yes.
For the world out there, can you tell us a little bit about Fandom
Yes.
as well as your role at Fandom, because it's fascinating.
Yes, and I love this space because it's like everyone's looking at us, which is really kind of fun. So Fandom is the world's largest fan platform. What that means is we have the deepest information on every imagined world in entertainment and gaming. And we have fans coming to us every day, multiple times per day, to make sure that they understand everything about Game of Thrones or about Minecraft. We're the first search result on Google for any query that you have in entertainment and gaming. And if you don't know that you've been to Fandom, I promise you have multiple times. We have over 350 million visitors every single month for all of the fandoms that we cover. We also own editorial brands, GameSpot, TV Guide, Metacritic, leader in ratings. And we own Fanatical, which is a gaming commerce brand where we sell PC games.
Wonderful. And it's your role as CMO, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started filming. AI. It is super important. It's something that you're very passionate about, but something that Fandom is just not new to Fandom, right? Yep. You've been in this world for a long time.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on AI and past, present, and future?
Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on AI, and I think about it kind of in two different ways. So AI, from just a work productivity tool, my team is using it a lot. I'm using it a lot in terms of even just brainstorming. I call it like a great solution for a blank paper problem. So when you need to get started with something and you can't figure out like how to begin, you kind of put in a query and it helps you like brainstorm a little bit. So my team does that a lot. We also use the tools a lot within our team, within our review process, to speed things up, to craft emails, internal communications. But we also use it to do a lot of the things that we couldn't do before. Yeah. So where before we might have an email commerce campaign and we might have 5 variations or 10 variations, now we have hundreds of variations.
Right.
And we actually use it for our analytics to segment our audiences as well, to tell us who's responding to what. So it actually does analysis for us, which is really incredible. So my analytics team uses it as well. And then we're able to create things on the B2B side of my team. When we're telling our story to advertisers, we're able to create, instead of just storyboards, we can actually create moving videos that kind of show the overall concept of the experience that we want to build for them. And those were things that we were never able to do before. So that's great. But I think beyond that, we think about AI a lot because we think about the search experience.
Right.
And we think about, a lot of the ways that our fans get to us is through search, right? As to, ask who is Rose Roy on Succession, right? And that search is going to bring them to us. But if some of those queries are answered on Google, we can't provide that experience in the same way. So we've been spending a lot of time of figuring out, how and where we add value, and how those deeper queries do end up with us. Certainly, in a lot of the things that Google is doing, they're actually featuring prominently kind of the top links that address that question. So we're in the results a lot of the time anyway. So in some ways, we actually get more prominent placement, which is kind of interesting. But we're definitely playing around with that and using AI to develop a lot of our tools. So quizzes and polls and things that, again, we couldn't do at scale easily manually. So we can actually enhance the experience on our platform for fans. So it's working across our business in a lot of different ways.
And that's really interesting because, and we were chatting about this, cookies, they're going away. How is that going to be impacting your business?
Yeah. So, it impacts us, certainly both like as a buyer and a seller, because we use a lot of our data also to drive performance on our commerce brand, for example, and use a lot of third-party data for that as well. So we're certainly digging in right now to figure out how to make sure we have as much first-party data as possible. But I also think that things are going to move much more to contextual and behavioral understanding of consumers and fans. So we have a lot of information obviously about people's fandoms and what that means about them, what that means they're interested in, what segments are more likely to be interested in different types of product categories, and what their behavior is on our platform. So we can actually target those people based on where they are within our ecosystem and understanding what kind of fan they are, without needing to have some of that, cookie data that we will no longer have. And then we can also obviously use the first party data that we have as well as our clients to then bring in kind of deeper attributes as well. But I do think kind of the fan understanding that we have and kind of the rich fans that are on our platform is an advantage.
Of course, of course. The other thing that I'm really intrigued about is streaming, because streaming touches kind of the four corners of your business, as I would like to say. And there's been a lot of things published around the trends of streaming. We've heard everything from profitability to sustainability to consolidation. What are your thoughts on or let me stop. I'm gonna go back. What are your thoughts on streaming?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts on streaming. I started my career in research, but then I went to NBC Universal, and it was when we were first streaming full episodes. I was there when we launched. We called it NBC
so cool.
Rewind. Yeah, in 2006, our streaming player. We had 6 shows that streamed. I was actually talking about Chuck, one of the shows from that time, yesterday in a meeting. I love Chuck. Watch Chuck. So, I've always been kind of very interested in streaming trends and where things are going and why people are watching. And obviously, things have changed a lot now. With all of these over-the-top services and all of the competition. And we've done a lot of work into the different streaming brands. What's the difference between Max and Apple TV Plus, right? In terms of their audiences, in terms of their programming, and understanding the overlap between them and what programs might actually increase their audience or enhance or reduce their churn. So we have a lot of great understanding there. But what I've also been really interested in is how things have changed around trying to not necessarily come up with a new show and pilot some new concept or new story, but really tapping into existing franchises, which we've seen a lot with things like DC or Marvel, Star Wars. A lot of comic stuff has always kind of been turned into franchises. Some of that lately, which you've probably been reading about, hasn't done as well as sometimes as they've maybe created a little bit too much content and gone a little bit too far. But what you're starting to see now is gaming really turning into that next territory for evolving, those worlds into streaming franchises. So like The Last of Us or Cyberpunk, Super Mario Brothers. We have Fallout is coming as well. So we've done a lot of work because we see people's behavior across gaming and entertainment. We can understand what the intersections are, right? And so what game should you license? Like what game is most likely to be something that your audience is going to love? And I think the other thing that we're seeing is a lot of licensing. So, certainly the more traditional television companies like Peacock and like Max, they have a lot of content, that they've had for a long time, like in their vault that's part of their services and part of, what they think adds value to their services. Whereas, Netflix and Amazon and Apple, they're really reliant on creating new content or licensing. But for a long time, they weren't able to license as much because all of the traditional companies are like, we're going to keep our stuff, like Paramount and Max and Peacock.
But now they're coming back.
And now they're like, we really need to be profitable.
I know.
And we're not. And so how can we actually make money by licensing that content out and also keeping it and thinking about that as a way to potentially grow audiences who might come back to Peacock for another season. So I found that to be really interesting. Suits is kind of the latest in that, but Friends was doing that previously as well.
Grey's Anatomy's now on Netflix.
Yeah. So you're seeing kind of like it's like new to me, or it's nostalgia. But we can also understand, because we see across all of the platforms, all of the IP, what, Apple should be licensing
Yep.
that's going to be a fit with their audience. So we're doing a lot of that analysis now as well. And I think that's going to be, a huge trend in 2024.
So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
It's
you for
always
having
such a
me.
pleasure to have you every year. I really enjoy listening to your thoughts around AI and streaming and all of that. Really wishing you like the most success in the whole Fandom team. And we
Thank
hope
you.
to see you back here next year.
Definitely excited.